The Galactic Sovereignty Council had made many decisions across 10,000 years of interstellar dominance. They had drawn borders through nebulae, taxed civilizations into submission, and erased species that refused to kneel. But on the third cycle of the Vorath Assembly, High Arbiter Xylan made the decision that would end his empire's legacy forever. He blockaded a human supply vessel. The ship was called USS Margaret Holloway. A mid-class cargo runner registered out of Houston Station, Earth Sector 7. It carried medical supplies, grain processors, and 312 civilian passengers heading toward the colony world of New Caldwell. The ship had committed no crime. It had violated no law. It simply existed inside space that Xylan had decided, that morning, belonged to the sovereignty. Hail them, Xylan ordered from his throne of polished obsidian. Tell them to surrender their cargo and their vessel. Standard seizure protocol. His communications officer hesitated. High Arbiter, the vessel is registered under the Human Confederacy. Their flag means nothing here, Xylan interrupted. Humans are a footnote. A species barely 2 centuries into space travel. They have no fleet worth mentioning, no warships in this sector. Comply. The order was transmitted. Inside the Margaret Holloway, Captain James Rourke read the transmission twice. He was a broad-shouldered man from Tennessee with 22 years of deep space service and a scar along his jaw from a docking accident at Jupiter Station. He was not a military man. He commanded a cargo ship. He carried grain and medicine and sleeping civilians. He read the transmission a third time. Then he opened a channel, not to the Sovereignty vessel, but to Earth Command. This is Captain James Rourke of the USS Margaret Holloway. We are being subjected to unlawful seizure by Sovereignty forces in Grid Sector 9 Vega. Civilian lives aboard. Requesting immediate advisory. He paused, then added quietly, and whatever else command sees fit. He cut the channel and looked at his first officer, Lieutenant Dana Mercer, a sharp woman from Chicago with cold eyes and a calm voice. How long until they board us, she asked. 40 minutes, Rourke said. Maybe less. Dana nodded slowly. And Earth? Rourke looked out at the stars. Earth is already listening. What High Arbiter Xylan did not understand, what no Sovereignty intelligence report had bothered to accurately document, was that humanity did not advertise its warships. They cloaked them. Every major human trade route in contested space had silent escorts. Ghost ships. Dark vessels running no transponders, no emissions, no heat signatures detectable by Sovereignty scanners. It was a doctrine developed after the Kepler incident of 2287, when a human freighter was destroyed and the Confederacy lost 47 lives before anyone could respond. They had never lost another ship the same way. 3 minutes after Captain Rourke's transmission reached Earth Command, Admiral Victor Hayes aboard the USCS Relentless, running silent just 11,000 kilometers from the Margaret Holloway. Received a single-word authorization from the Joint Confederate Council back on Earth. Respond. Hayes set down his coffee. He was a quiet man from Montana who rarely raised his voice. He looked at his tactical officer and said, simply, decloak. All 3 ships. Active weapons. Hail the Sovereignty vessel. Xylan saw it happen in real time and could not process what his eyes showed him. Space itself seemed to tear open. 3 vessels materialized from nothing, enormous, dark-hulled warships bristling with rail cannon arrays and pulse torpedo banks. The USCS Relentless, the USCS Fort Davis, and the USCS Eleanor Grant formed a triangle around his fleet like a closing fist. The hail came immediately. This is Admiral Victor Hayes of the United Human Confederacy. You have initiated an unlawful seizure of a registered civilian vessel under Confederate protection. You have 60 seconds to withdraw all boarding craft, release the Margaret Holloway, and vacate this grid sector. If you do not comply, we will interpret your presence as an act of war. And I want to be very clear, Arbiter. Hayes's voice was level, almost bored. We have been at war before. We remember it better than you think. Xylan stared at the 3 warships. At the weapons charged and waiting. At the 60 seconds dissolving like vapor. His boarding craft were already retreating. The Margaret Holloway reached New Caldwell 4 days later. 312 passengers disembarked safely. The grain processors were installed. The medicine saved lives. The Galactic Sovereignty Council convened an emergency session that same week. 47 member civilizations requested immediate diplomatic normalization with the Human Confederacy. New trade agreements were drafted within the month. Xylan resigned his position before the session ended. He spent the rest of his years writing memoirs no one read. Somewhere in the dark between stars, the USCS Relentless cloaked again, silent, patient, invisible, and waited for the next civilization to make the same mistake. None ever did.